Hello everyone, this is the Deb method and I'm Ricky. I'll be taking you through today how to make components in React. So today we're going to take a look at making our own components in React, but also using some components that other people have made in React. This will get you more acquainted with structuring a solution from something that's visual. So in this case, we're going to be taking a look at adding some images to already existing components. Take a look at the Carbon components by IBM online. You can actually take a look at what's called a storyboard, where they will give you like a gallery of components that you want to be looking at, and that way you can pick and choose what things you want. A lot of it's great for beginners because you don't have to worry about the details of how it was created, but those components are reusable and are most likely reused throughout the app. You get to come up with new creative ways to actually use them. So taking a look online, we have the Carbon design system. This link here I'll post in the description below. That way you guys can play around with the storybook that they have set up. So when I'm looking at the website here, I have on the left-hand side a table, if you will, of all the different components that come with Carbon, and on the right hand side are the code snippets, or like the actual story itself, and that's what is noted by story here, and this is how it's written down at the bottom. But then toward the top you actually have the component itself, and you get to see what it's like. So the whole point of this is we could take a look at some of the components in here that we can reuse in our own app. So in Code Sandbox, if you've already started a React app within it, there's actually a really great way to get the Carbon dependencies in there. There was a link, I showed that in the last show, where you can click on it from the IBM's GitHub page for Carbon components for React. But if you haven't done that, but you want to get caught up to speed with using them here in your project, if you take a look on the left-hand side, you go to File Editor, and then there's this Add Dependencies area. So adding dependencies, we only had the 3 that were set up from before, so that would be React, React DOM, and React Scripts. We had the other ones added from the previous show, but we didn't necessarily use them. So now we're going to actually look at using them. So we'll use the website for Carbon to get the examples, the import statements to the actual implementation, and then we'll actually put it into the project. We'll see a live update on the screen. So for right now, I'm actually going to hide some of my interface. So this is a little tip for the Code Sandbox. If you press Command-Shift-P, this is a couple of commands that you might be using. So these are some of the ones that I've used most recently. And yours will be a little different. You can actually click inside here and search all the different commands too. So for example, if you wanted to see something like hide something or show something, you could just type in show. Oh, nothing came up for show. How about hide? Nope. All right. Next that. It's probably toggle. Toggle. All right, cool. Here's a couple things I could toggle. One of the things that I'm going to do right now to get rid of some of the buttons on the edge of the screen is I'm going to do the Zen Mode. Love the Zen Mode. Now the app that we left off at was very similar to what we have here. I've modified it only slightly, and in this case I've also turned off prettier settings. The app that we have today just says hello world. It's wrapped in an H1. It's sent here to the render method, right? And then it is rendered on the root element in your HTML page. So a couple things about this. If I was to say change something here to just like welcome, there you go, just updated. And then I will do my name, Ricky, updates again, very cool. Now in this case, I'm gonna take a look at maybe adding some components to what I have set up here. And there's quite a few ways to structure this. Let me actually write this in a slightly different way for what we have here. This is called a fragment. So this is almost like an empty div. If you were to just write div in here, This is very similar. So I'll put my name in here again. You see there's Ricky. Let me take these things away. There you go. So introduced not that long ago, this is like a div. And the reason you do that is you can't have two sibling elements on your component. So for example, I wouldn't be able to do like my first name and last name like this, div, and then immediately after another div. Oop, there we go. So I wouldn't be able to do that. And actually that's a syntax error. So it says adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in enclosing tags. And you could use a fragment. And there it is in the suggestion. So I'm actually going to erase this line. I don't really want this. But I do like fragments. They look a little cleaner. You can write div in there. I don't know. Think of it what you will. I think if you really want to know the actual difference here is that you wouldn't be able to add any class name or any properties to this fragment. You wouldn't be able to do like class name equals something. See? It expected a token. So that's the difference with fragments. If you need just a plain div, nothing to add to it, no props, that's the fragment. And that's why you'd use that. So moving on, we're going to put all of our components in here. So I'm going to do a return, put some stuff in here. I already have some components pre-made. Let me show you what they look like, and then we'll actually go into using some of them. Import tile, I called it, from tile. There we go. And tile. Whoa. Boom. The tile has a name. First tile. No, tile has a title. Oh boy, what did I do here? Title. Yeah, all right, cool. So there's my title. And then it also has a caption. So caption will equal, I'll just give it some sort of value here. This caption is going to be my sweet caption here. And then the way that the tile is meant to be used is that we put something inside of its content here. And we could put anything we want. Like an image tag, right? Whoop. Then an image would go in there. I'm going to put like a paragraph here, paragraph tag. This is the explanation of the content. Boom. So that stuff's in the middle. That's the whole idea. So notice the structure here. I'm going to do some returns so you can see this a little bit easier. So we have a tile component, opened it, closed it. We have the title right here, a caption. So no matter what, if I was to change the implementation of the tile here, I don't have to change the title and caption. So the tile, maybe someday the text is going to be like stacked on top of each other, and then the content below. Maybe it'll be like a vertical, like it'll spell out first tile, first tile. Maybe it'll spell out first tile from top to bottom, like the F and then the I and then the R and then the S. So this is what's really great about components is that you could change the implementation, still keep the same props. It's like an interface into this component. So as you're building these things up with your team, stick to some really good naming conventions like title and caption, or come up with some that maybe that you want to start with first, maybe retire later, do like a search and replace. The whole point being, I won't have to change that code. The only code I might change is actually the implementation. And right now with this tile, since I can put anything in there, I can put a paragraph in there, I could put a movie in there, I could put an image in there. I'm actually going to put an image. So I have an image component already set up. Okay. Image. Here we go. There's my image. Let's see, do I have any like keyboard shortcuts? I think it's the source. Yeah. Whoa. I have a source here. And I'll put www.google.com. All right, so this is my image component. Now you might be wondering, why did setting the source on the image to google.com all of a sudden appear with like a red X? This is what's cool about the image, is that since the image is reusable, I already have some default behavior built into it. In this case, if I'm trying to make the source not an image, anything but an image, it's actually going to show here google.com. Pretty sweet. This will work with really any open image that I can find online. So I already have a couple set up. And what I'll do is import my data from, import my data from app data. So this is a file I have set up right now so I can get some information and just like iterate through it. So I actually have, this is where I'll need the wing braces here. And then return this. All right. And then I'll say like first image. So const first equals data dot the first thing in the data. So that first I will actually put in here. And I think it is first dot image. No. Yeah. So I don't remember what's going on here with my data that I have pulled in. I'll show you a really quick tip to see what the structure is of the data. I already know right now that it's supposed to be JSON. And I've tested this before, so I know that the image data will come in. But if I don't remember what actually the properties are of some of these JSON objects, like image, or is it like, you know, IMG instead of spelled out image, I want a way to figure that out. And that's where I use the console log. So I'm going to get out of my Zen mode for just a second. Toggle my Zen mode. Zen mode. And then I'm going to go over here to this button where it's the console. If you guys know the keyboard shortcut to jump directly to the console, add that in the comments below. And I do console.log, and I'll say first. Okay. So here it is. The first thing, it's just turtles is the name, and then image, which is actually another object. So let me do image now. Okay. So that has, looks like a function, a key, a ref, a props. All right, cool. So I think actually what I want here is that this is a component. This app data is already giving me back images. So I actually don't even want this. All I need is first.image, like so. Get rid of that. Hide the console, show the browser again, and here we go. There it is. There's my turtle. Pretty sweet. Now, you might be asking yourself, how do I do multiple images here? So let's just do the second data. Now remember, we get to set the content on this tile component, right? So all I have to do is just do second.image. Here we go. There it is, 2 images. Now this is not totally what I want. Maybe I want multiple tiles. So remember, the tiles have the title at the top, the captions below it. So I don't necessarily want this, but I want a tile with the title again, second, and a caption, second caption, right? Okay. And close the tile and put in the content. Right? Now, I'm just going to format this very similarly as to what we had before. That way it's a little bit easier to read. But this will work. So we have the first tile, we have the second tile, we have the lion. Pretty cool stuff. Now, let's actually go back to seeing what second actually was. We'll do the console log, do second here, and we'll switch back to the console. So, console.log, the second thing. There we go. There, okay, cool. Had to trigger some sort of update with a save. The name, lion, I want that to be the title. So, if I wanted to do that, I would have to say here, first.name, right? And then this would be second.name. Let's look at the render. Here we are, we have turtles, and then we have lion. Very cool. Now the issue that we have here is that if we wanted to list all of the images out in a tile like this is not going to be sustainable because this is not dynamic. There is nothing here saying if there was 20 today and 9 tomorrow, that this would grow and shrink. And so that's known as being dynamic with displaying the information. Let's do a for loop. Let's see how that works. So let me take this out. I'll take this, but we do want the data.data, and we'll say the items are here. Cool. And what we'll actually do is wrap this with what we want. So let's just start off by echoing out some of these elements, the tile elements. And when I say echo out, we're essentially saying like render them so that they look like it's a for loop, and that the array that's being returned from this function will automatically map out many different tiles. So we'll actually use the map function for it. So items.map, we'll do the item itself, and we're gonna wrap it in a tile, okay? Tile, like so. Let's first just get the title in there. So title equals item.name, item.name. There we go, save that. All right, so we actually only have 3 elements in this piece of data. So we have the turtle, the lines, and the bear. So the next thing is really to get that caption in there, if we had a caption. Now, I don't have a caption, I believe, but maybe we do in the image. We'll find out. What I could do is now do the content, and that's going to be the image itself. So item.image. There we go. Very, very cool. So you got the turtle, the lion, the bear. Now, take a look at that bear. What does that tell you? That means that the bear image is actually not coming correctly. So maybe from the server, it's not found, or maybe the URL to pull it from is actually the incorrect URL. But notice this component, this image component, has helped us with that fallback to see if there's like an error there. And we've also reduced the amount of lines of code that we have in our component, in our app component here. And it all started with just like getting the items here. So that's pretty sweet. This is our loop. We did the map through it all. Now, if you guys are curious to see what is actually like working or maybe not working here, what I have is the image implementation. So let me just show that real quick. If you guys want to see a video about this, or maybe like a short tips or tricks about this type of handling of errors on loading images, just let me know in the comments below. And then this is what it returns, just a simple IMG. Now, here's the width, 200, so that's fixed right now. This implementation keeps it fixed. Here's the source, so we're just passing in the source from the props there. And then we have on error. So if you were to look at a normal IMG, the on error would have looked something like this, on error, all lowercase. But that actually doesn't work with React components. They do this camel case here. So like if we wanted on click, it would look like the same thing, so that when somebody clicks on something, we get these functions we pass in to do some sort of action handling. So this is known as the callback. And I just gave mine a camel case name here, but I could have called it whatever I want. That part actually doesn't matter. Whatever you name your local variables does not matter. But what does matter is setting the property here on error in camel case so that the image can then pick it up. So that's that little tip there. Now the tile, let me take a look at the tile with you guys. Here we go. This is what the tile looks like. It's very, very simple. It does pass in props for a title and a caption, right? And here I am using Fragment again because it just has an H1 and then this paragraph tag, which is used for the captions. I can update this later in the implementation to do something a little bit more sophisticated and maybe link in specific classes to this. But for right now, this is what I got, and this is what I want to stick with for the time being. And then in our index.js, this is our normal app component as it is structured today. But what I want to do now is take a look at some of the Carbon components and actually see which ones we could use inside of our project. So to do that, go to the Carbon storyboard here. I think these skeletons are for like a loading screen. Like if we were loading the turtle and lion and bear from the back end, from some sort of API, we might want to put this skeleton in there as like a placeholder so that we can see, oh, okay, well, something's loading or something's in progress of showing on the screen, but we don't necessarily just give a blank page and then like new stuff comes up right away. You'll actually notice that the YouTube app on mobile does this and also LinkedIn as well. It's pretty neat. But anyways, we have, let's see, accordion, buttons. That is actually kind of cool. What if our tile had a button in it? Now, how do I start using it? Let's take a look back here. And let's say, let's just get a button on the screen just to see what it looks like here. So do button, right? And then here is the button title. So I'd say button. That's the title of the button. Ooh, have an error. What does this error mean? It says a reference error, button is not defined. That is very true. How do I get button defined in here? You might ask yourself, well, I look at the dependencies. Didn't I add my Carbon components just like Ricky showed in the video? Yes, you could have. If not, add them now. So let's try this. Let's just try a couple things without like looking up too much about it. I'm going to actually import Carbon React or Carbon components React. So import, let's say like button from Carbon components React. Does that work? All right, no error. And then we have a button on screen. So what if we built up something where we put in the tiles two different buttons, right where the captions would normally be. We'll put it just below the image, and we'll have like a cancel or a save button, kind of like something that we could use to figure out what exactly we want to cancel or what we want to save in terms of all the images on the screen. I think that'd be kind of cool to build up, and we see just like learning React how this all gets structured. So with this, I'm actually going to take out the button here, okay? So then this tile, what I'm going to do is make a new file here. I'll call it confirmation tile.js, okay? Put it up inside the source. First thing we do is we import React. Let me get my Zen Mode going here. Nice. So import React from React. Okay, very cool. Now we want the Carbon button, right? So import button from Carbon React components. Very cool. Now we want to build our component then to show to others. So you would think, all right, well, all you have to do is declare a function and call it like, you know, confirmation tile. Okay, here. Now what I'm gonna do, my strategy is to make this like a wrapper for the actual tile. Now, why would I make a wrapper for it instead of like totally changing the tile? The reason being, if I'm in mid development, that tile is used everywhere. It's such a small component that maybe builds into something greater and bigger. So I don't necessarily want to rewrite the tile in the confirmation tile, but I do want to use the tile. And I'm also adding that dependency that if the tile somehow updates, like maybe the title should be, the title should be on the left side rather than on top of the content, I will actually get that in this confirmation tile that I'm currently making. So that's my goal. And with that, I want the tile. We're gonna have to import that here. So import tile from tile. There we go. I'm gonna actually write it all out and then see maybe if we have issues after the fact when we start using it. Sweet. Let's just see how far we can get with something like this. Now, can anybody spot one mistake? Let's just say I told myself, I'm done, I'm ready to use it. Can anyone spot the mistake? I'll give you 2 seconds. 1, 2. Okay, so here's the mistake. Confirmation tile is defined, but it is actually never used. I don't know if you could see this squiggly, this like little squiggle underneath the C of confirmation. I hovered on top of that. It's telling me is defined but never used. So this is ESLint, automatically set up in Code Sandbox. Thank you again. And it's telling us, it's helping us saying like, hey, you defined this but never used this. It doesn't mean it's not used in another file, but you gave the function a name, but it doesn't do anything. So that's where you say export default confirmation tile. Boom. That's what makes it an actual component now for importing into other files. So let's just see how far we've come. Let's replace the tiles in the index.json with confirmation tile. Confirmation tile. There we go. Confirmation tile. Let me make this a little bit. And there we go. All right. Now I want confirmation tile. Confirmation tile. All right, cool. So now here we have what I seemingly think I'm done with, but I see that I'm not. So I have React is not defined. Yeah, okay, so let's read through this. React is not defined. Where is that? It looks like it's in our confirmation. So that is interesting. And then here we have another thing where it says render here. Let's try. Ooh, there it is. I know that seems kind of weird, but it needs to be capital. So don't forget that. Does anybody know why it needs to be capital? Put that in the comments. I think I know why, but I'll let you guys help each other out. Okay, so here it is. We got turtles, we got cancel and save, but then we're missing the images. Ouch. So what does that mean? I think that means because the confirmation here, we need to put the images back in here. So that would be, let's see, props.image. Is that what we want? No. Props.children. Ooh, yeah, there we go. Sweet. All right, so real quick, I'm just gonna add some styling here. I should probably separate it into like the CSS or Sass files, but just wanna get this looking nice. So style. And secondary, because it looks like the default right now is the primary for the kind. So pretty sweet. Now, since I'm actually working here with some of my components that have been defined elsewhere, I get a lot of this like rich API, but like you could build this into your own components, such as what I did for the image, like if the image couldn't load. All right, so here we go. Now, the only last thing to do would be how to respond to like a click event. And then from there, you'll be able to realize like what these handlers are like. The confirmation tile is something that we reuse here. So I'd need something to tell us, like here in this file that we've clicked on something. So I'm going to write a handler, and I'll say tile was clicked, callback, okay? And it'll be a function, right? I mean, you can write this in a couple different ways, but this is how I'm just going to do it right now for this example. So what it passes in is the event itself, right? And sometimes you write that as event or E. And what I'll do is I'll just console log, okay? And I'll just print out the event.target. Whoa, target, cool. And then I'll put that in on the handler here. So I just do on click, right? Let me separate this out just a little bit there. Cool. All right, so one more in here. We'll do on click. Some sort of variable needs to go in here, so that's why we wrap it in the winged braces. Tile was clicked callback. Sweet. Oh, and E for event. All right, so I'm not going to display anything out on the page, so I'm going to go back to the console. Show the console here. I'm going to click something and then look at the console, right? So here, let's see. And the tile itself, right? Click. Go to the console. Oh, nothing. Click, 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 click. Do we save? Console? Oh, the tile itself doesn't take an on click. Why is that? Well, confirmation tile is not something that we've set up to respond to an on click, right? Let's take a look at confirmation tile. Oh, we have it up here. See how like it passes the props to tile, right? So that could be the problem there. We could also like wrap this in a div in itself and then like handle the click at this point. But I think what we want to do here is eventually just delegate this all to React, so something on the div itself. So how could we do this? Well, I actually want the on click, so it's like more of like an on save or on cancel, right? So what if we pass that to the button itself? Yeah. So let me just put the on click here. I'll just put props dot on click. Okay. So if that's passed in, now the cancel button has something to do. So cancel. Do we have a console log? Ah, we did not. Oh boy. Let's go back here. Let's print out something like on click happened. Yeah. So cancel. Go here. No. Didn't work. Why not? So that tells me maybe button doesn't like listen to on click. The other thing I could say is, well, what if the props here don't have that click event? How could we test that? So we do props dot on click. That should equal a function. So click. Nothing. Oh boy. Does this even get rendered? That would be my next question. Console.log rendered. Ah, there we go. Yeah, so we're passing it in. So I think the console needs to show while we're actually like interacting with this. How could we do that? So maybe put the console at the bottom. Okay, and then show this. Can we not do both at the same time? Okay, so if we can't do both at the same time in Code Sandbox, if anybody does know how to do both at the same time, please put that in the comments. I would love to know that. But we'll do something a little different. Let's go to, well, now that I know that it's there, let's go to the index.js, and instead of like a console log, we'll just do like alert click happened. Okay, so there we go. Click happened. Pretty straightforward. So that's kind of cool. Now I noticed like the cancel button still stays in this like clicked state. Let's see. Let's do like something like this. Prevent default. Something like that. Is that how we do that? No. I don't remember. Something about defaults. I'm sure that's there. Anyways, going back. So that's how we're responding to the click. Now the save doesn't have it, right? So this is on click. It's a little too generic. Let's just say on cancel, because this is a confirmation tile, right? And let's do on save. And then let's change this to be on cancel. Okay. And then another one on save. Function takes E. Now we don't even use E. Just take that out of there for now. We'll do an alert. And we'll say save was pressed. Okay. And then we'll do an alert here. We'll say cancel was pressed. Ooh, we have some issues here. Oh yes, on save. Can't be empty here. So on save, on cancel. Let's go back to the confirmation tile. So that's on click for here. Let's do the on click for this button, which is the save. And we do props dot on save. And then this will be on cancel. All right. Go back here. Oh, hey, what happened here? Oh man. We're spilling out some stuff over here. Is that how that's supposed to happen? Oh, I see why. Don't know how that happened there. All right, cool. There we go. And the next thing to do is test it out. So here's cancel. Cancel was pressed. And here's save, and save was pressed. So now we can respond with the person who's using the component, this confirmation tile, and we could use this information to then change the interface, maybe save things to the database, whatever you think's most appropriate at this point in time in the code. So thanks guys for watching again today. If you want to subscribe, that's down below. Maybe give a thumbs up, tell your friends about the episode, and we'll be continuing to build this up a little bit further. Now we've integrated with React components, and we've made our own components, and we've also reused the IBM Carbon components. See you next time.